Hello, everybody, and very good evening to all of you once again this evening. Hope you all can see and hear me. If you all could you leave like you could say, a thumbs up or something like that in the chat box? I'll just adjust my camera. I think there's a seems to be a feed on the entire light out here. Hopefully, that's better now. Nonetheless, good to see all of you once again today. If you could all just give me a minute, I'll just adjust my camera. I think there's a white line. Yep, I think that's relatively better now. I prefer yellow to white for some reason. It's a more, how do you say, homely color is what I essentially feel. But good to see all of you again coming in for session two of the KHS MUN rules of procedure. Yesterday, we did indeed complete a whole set of points of the rules of procedure. And once again, today, we are going to be continuing with the procedure as well. Before we begin, in the chat box, if some of y'all could explain to me or tell me, have you all done the homework that I've given you? I'd asked you to, you could say, do a little bit of research, make your general speakers list address, and get a little bit more insight into how you're going to be giving your introductory speech. Thumbs up or thumbs down in the chat box in case you all have done the homework that I've asked you to do. All right, fantastic. Written era, Ghost, Elaine, everybody. I'm glad that you all have taken this initiative. It will be genuinely good for all of you. Also, another thing that I wanted to point out is that I know many of y'all have some questions, a lot of questions rather, not just a few. So, what I want you all to do is don't worry. Don't take stress. I want you to just note down these questions that you have, either on your notebooks or on your computers or mobile phones as such. And then when we have our third session tomorrow, I won't be explaining the rules of procedure. Like I said, I will be going through all of your questions from the chat box and answering each and every one of them at large. So this one thing I wanted to you could say communicate to all of you, and hopefully that would be a good doubt solving session that we'll be having tomorrow. But nonetheless, let's begin today with the rules of procedure once again. Much like yesterday, I am going to share my screen with all of you. Just allow me to open the document once again. For some reason, if I open the document before the YouTube stream, it refuses to share the screen. So it's only during the, how do you say, um, session is when I can add it to the screen. Great, I've got it out here. Yesterday, if you recall, we completed points 1 to 15, and we have not completed one particular point, which I'm going to complete at the end of the day today, is a point on formal voting. But yesterday we concluded with how our committee begins, how we, set an agenda, how we give an introductory speech, and how we yield our time, in the conference, after our introductory speech. Now, after we go through this process of giving these introductory speeches, at that juncture in time, is it visible now? It's still a black screen. Just a moment, I'll just stop sharing and try again. Visible now, guys? Sound is there. I can get the audio feedback out here. So yeah, fantastic. So we completed points 1 to 15. We do have one point which is essentially pending, which is the formal voting, which I'm going to do at the end of the day. And we also discuss about how the committee begins, right? How we come into the classroom, we give our attendance, we start with our introductory speech, how we yield our time with the remainder time of our introductory speech. These things we had run through yesterday. The links of the training sessions are saved on YouTube. You can watch it at any time as per your convenience as well, no problem. Today, we're going to be continuing with the committee sessions and how we're going to go about discussions. So more than 70% of your time, 70% of your time in conference is going to go in between points number 15 and 16, which is moderated caucus and unmoderated caucus. These are the two times where majorly most of your discussions are going to be taking place. So I'm going to emphasize on these points in detail for all of you. You must have heard this word motion or read this word motion before in the rules of procedure, right? What does this meaning of this word motion? Motion means that I want to do ABC XYZ thing, or I am proposing to have ABC XYZ thing initiated in the committee. One type of motion is motion to open a moderated caucus. Now, what is a moderated caucus? Apart from what is mentioned on screen, let me explain to you. Moderated caucus essentially is a detailed discussion on a subtopic of the agenda. You see how you have your, you could say, geography textbook as an example. In that geography textbook, you have multiple chapters: chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. All four chapters together make the entire geography subject for your final exam. Similarly, all of your agendas, be it social media and AI, be it the Kashmir issue, be it artificial intelligence, all of these agendas are very vast, much like an entire textbook of information, much like an entire textbook of content. Now, where do we begin? How do we begin? We begin by breaking down. We begin by breaking down this major agenda which you're discussing, called AI and its global impact, or social media and mental health, into multiple subtopics. I know I'm not sharing screen. I will share my screen. I want to explain to you first. Otherwise, you'll be reading. You won't be listening to me. So coming back to what I was trying to say is that I want you to break down your agenda into multiple sub-agendas. So your agenda is like one major problem, one major issue that we're discussing and trying to solve in this conference, correct? Everyone has gotten their issue that they've selected to discuss in the conference as well. Now, the question that arises when we break down this agenda, because it's so vast. Like, Kashmir is so complicated, right? It's not only about Operation Sindoor. It's not only about humanitarian aspect of the people of Kashmir. There have been so many things that have been happening since so many years, and there's so much of information you must have read in the guide and even your own research. So in a moderated caucus, we break down this agenda into multiple sub-agendas and discuss these sub-agendas or contributing problems to the major problem in detail. So, what is moderated caucus? Moderated caucus is a time when this full main topic which is there is broken down into subtopics, like your geography textbook. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. What are the contributing causes to this major problem of AI? For example, deepfakes is a problem. For example, jobs are a problem. For example, misuse of AI is also happening in today's, and extortion rackets are also taking place if you read online so often. So there are so many contributing impacts of technology and artificial intelligence. There's so many contributing issues concerning the Kashmir. So in moderated caucus, we discuss each issue in detail. We discuss each issue in detail. We break down the agenda into sub-agendas, into subtopics. Each subtopic is discussed in detail and focused on in detail in what you call a moderated caucus. So your agenda, you break down into multiple sub-agendas. You have this major problem you're discussing. You need to research what are the contributing problems leading up to this major problem. And each one of these contributing problems are discussed in what you call a moderated caucus. In a moderated caucus. So, how do you initiate a moderated caucus? How do you initiate a moderated caucus? You initiate a moderated caucus by simply raising your placard, and saying motion to open a moderated caucus. Once again, I will share my screen with you so you all can see as we speak. How do you initiate a moderated caucus? What is written here in italics? Motion to open a moderated caucus to discuss whatever the subtopic you have selected. Whatever the subtopic you have selected. Let's take, for example, the Kashmir issue. Now, one of the contributing agendas is the recent bombings in Delhi, which have been linked to. Again, it's black. Okay, I will share once again. Sorry guys, just facing a few technical issues. I don't know what's wrong with YouTube today. Visible now, guys? Okay, fantastic. So as I was saying, when we discuss how do you open a moderated caucus, remember I told you there is one sentence that your chairperson will repeat again and again in committee. Any points or motions on the floor, like a parrot, he or she will repeat any points or motions on the floor, any points or motions on the floor. One type of motion is motion of moderated caucus, which is a detailed discussion, on a subtopic, of the main topic, How do you open it? You raise your placard, you say this, what is mentioned here in italics that I've highlighted for you, what I've highlighted for you, and you mention your subtopic. Taking, for example, the Kashmir issue. Kashmir, again, vast issue. Let's take into consideration the recent bombings of Delhi that took place near Red Fort, which happened literally 10 days back, which has been, connected indirectly to this entire Kashmir issue and has been a response to the Kashmir issue and Operation Sindoor that has been undertaken by our government. So, how do you introduce it? You raise your placard, you say motion to open a moderated caucus to discuss the recent retaliation and bombings in Delhi for the total time length 5 minutes and time per speaker 1 minute. What does this mean? That you are saying to the committee, you are mentioning to the committee that all of us, we should discuss this topic, which is about the bombings, which is linked to the Kashmir issue in detail for about 5 or 10 minutes time. And each person who wants to speak on this subtopic will be given 1 minute to speak. This is what you are introducing in the committee. Now, just because you have introduced, or I have introduced, or third person have introduced, that does not make it necessary. That does not make it necessary that it has to be discussed in the committee. It will be going through what? It will be going through the process of informal voting, which basically means chairperson will ask all those delegates wanting to discuss this topic, please raise your placards. Those delegates who say that, okay, you know what, this is an important thing that we should discuss and is a genuine subtopic of the main topic, will vote for it. Those people who think, no, this is not applicable only, or does not make sense discussing, or just does not want to discuss it, will vote against it. Based on the simple majority, this motion of moderated caucus, which whoever is introduced in the committee, will either pass or either fail. Now, I will give you one tip, considering some of you all are here. One tip is that if you introduce the moderated caucus, if you are the one who's taken the initiative to introduce the moderated caucus, you will have an opportunity to speak first or speak last. Now, generally, when it comes to us, we are very excited. So we tend to say, hey, you know what? I will speak first. But my advice to you and the tip of the day to you is don't speak first, speak last. For the simple reason, that you have 1 minute and everybody else is speaking also has 1 minute. You might have lot of information. All that information will not fit in that 1 minute. So there will be certain parts of what you are going to say might be covered from somebody else who's speaking in this moderated caucus. Let them speak first and you speak last. So you'll be able to cover things which they have not mentioned or emphasize on things that they have not mentioned. And at the same point of time, being the last speaker, you will also have a more, how do you say, lasting impression, considering you are the final speaker in the moderated caucus as well. This privilege is given to the person or the delegate who has taken initiative to raise the moderated caucus. So, what is the tip for the students attending the training? That don't be in a hurry to speak first. No problem. Be last. Because you see, everybody has 1 minute, maximum is 10 minutes. So, there are 10 speakers, 9 other people can speak. Then you can speak. What they have not covered, you can cover. If they have covered everything you've covered, you can emphasize further. and have a lasting impression on the committee at large as well on this moderated caucus. This moderated caucus is very important because the whole committee goes in a cycle. We discuss moderated caucuses, then we break into unmoderated caucuses. We discuss moderated caucuses, again we break into unmoderated caucuses. So one homework now I am giving you for today. What I want you to do is I want you to all make a list of subtopics or contributing problems to this main agenda. So you all have selected problems: social media, mental health, AI and global impact, ABC, XYZ topics. All of you all have selected, correct? So what I want you to do is, this is such a vast topic. I want you to give me 10 reasons or 10 things you should discuss in moderated caucus in this topic. This is what I want you to do. Again, students who are in the chat box, Vinci, Matthew, and LIMP, I will be, and Feminub, I will be tracing your IP addresses and reporting you to your schools, because I can get your email IDs from your usernames and trace it back to you. So please behave yourself in the committee, in the training session, or it will become a problem for you, is what I can assure you. What I'm trying to tell you, coming back to my point, the homework, Andrew, is you have selected an agenda. There is a topic that you are representing. Okay. That topic is very vast. There are many reasons behind why we are discussing this topic. Each one of these reasons I want you to note down. These will become your moderated caucus topics, which you will introduce in committee. Each one of you should have 5 to 8 different moderated caucus topics that you think are very important to discuss concerning the topic you are discussing. I'll give you a few examples. When it comes to Security Council, you can discuss Operation Sindoor, you can discuss terrorist attacks, you can discuss the humanitarian grounds and the life and the human rights of the people of Kashmir. You can discuss, say, for example, the recent Delhi bombings. These are few examples of moderated caucus or subtopics related to your main topic. When it comes to your AI committee, you can discuss about deepfakes, you can discuss about extortion rackets, you can discuss about how jobs are being impacted. These are the impacts of artificial intelligence and technology. So whichever topic you're representing, I want you to create multiple subtopics, 5 to 8 subtopics that you think are causing this major problem or causing issues in your agenda. These subtopics which you have selected, you will introduce in your committee through the process of moderated caucus. Now, generally, after moderated caucus, you have an unmoderated caucus. What is an unmoderated caucus? Unlike moderated caucus, which is a formal discussion on one of the subtopics, unmoderated caucus is more like an informal discussion where everybody has heard about that subtopic. Whoever wanted to speak spoke also on that subtopic. Now, after we've all voiced our opinions, thoughts, views in the moderated caucus, what are we going to do about it? After just speaking is one thing. You've heard what I have to say. Sorry, excuse me. You've heard what I have to say. You've heard what X has to say. You've heard what Y has to say. You've even heard what Z has to say. We've all spoken in moderated caucus. Moderated caucus on that subtopic is concluded. But just by speaking, we have not come to any solution. So what do? We break into something which is called the unmoderated caucus, which is also another type of motion. What happens out here? After we have this detailed discussion on a subtopic, all of us, we can get up from our seats and we can sit and talk to each other in an informal manner, saying, bro, you had said ABC XYZ thing. I agree with you. We must come to some sort of solution. Work with your allies, try to convince the neutral people. And what you need to do is you need to make a solution in an unmoderated caucus. Unmoderated caucus is time for diplomacy. It's a time for you to negotiate, deal, understand, speak to the other delegates. Okay, bro, you had said ABC things. I agree with you. What should we do about it? Let's collectively form a solution to this entire issue. This is what happens in an unmoderated caucus. It's basically a session where it's like a, how do you say, like a lobbying session, like a diplomatic session, where you can get up from where you are seated, you can go and talk to other delegates can come and talk to you. You all have had a full discussion on moderated caucus, you all have shared all your points, views, and opinions. This is the time when you put in your thoughts, not just alone, but with everybody in the committee for creating a solution and to get people to support you, because everything comes down to voting. You have to form alliances with other countries. If you don't form alliances with other countries, it's not going to work. So you have, everything goes to voting, right? So you can't say that I am going to have solutions that is only suitable to my country. You have to, because nobody is going to vote for you. Then you have to take into consideration the globe, you have to take into consideration other ideologies as well, and based out of that you need to create a solution. Say for example, when we talk about AI, okay, when we talk about deep fakes, maybe we can create a subcommittee, maybe we can create an alliance, saying that hey, we are developing countries and we are losing jobs because of AI. The top companies are laying off their employees, and there is no opportunities available for the next generation. So there must be certain things that we must do, which all can discuss, all underdeveloped or developing countries together can discuss the impacts of AI on the jobs in their respective countries, and come up with a solution saying what do we do about this, what is the solution, because we've shared our problems, we've shared our opinions, but what is the solution to it is what is made in your unmoderated caucus. This is what it is. How do you raise it? How do you go about raising it? Very simple. Again, there is one standard statement your chairperson makes in the committee. Any points or motions on the floor? Again, very simply put, raise your placard, motion to open an unmoderated caucus for the purpose, and the time duration 10 to maximum 15 minutes. So, motion to open an moderated caucus to find a solution to the loss of jobs due to technology and artificial intelligence for a time duration of 10 minutes. Again, just because you have introduced this motion, that does not mean it will pass. It will go back to informal voting. If simple majority agree, informal voting will be done, majority will vote for it, then it will pass. And unmoderated caucus will be in action in the committee, and all of you all can discuss amongst yourselves on what the solution essentially is. This is what your this is what essentially your, what do you call that, unmoderated caucus essentially is. Like that, there is other motions as well. There's a motion when the chairperson says any points or motions on the floor, there is something called motion to challenge as well. Challenge is a great fun thing. For those who have done MUN before, I must tell you, a challenge is quite a fun aspect of MUN, and also a highly debatable aspect of MUN as well. What does challenge essentially mean? Challenge basically is, you could say, a bilateral debate on a multilateral forum, where two countries, maybe India and Pakistan in Security Council, come in front of the entire committee and debate only amongst themselves, because they are the two most prominent countries when it's concerning this agenda. So the fun part about this is it's a no holds barred debate. I don't know whether you have seen or your parents have seen prime time television 9 p.m. all the debates happening on news channels when nobody waits for anybody to wait and everybody's putting the points forward. So this is like a full, like you could say, like a rebuttal round, going on of a debate for a maximum duration of 3 minutes between two countries. How do you raise it? Motion to challenge the delegate of Pakistan over the Kashmir issue for the time duration 3 minutes. Here's the interesting part, my friends. Here is where the interesting part comes in. The interesting part out here is, suppose I am the delegate of India. Okay. Suppose I am the delegate of India and you are, say, for example, I am the delegate of Pakistan and you are the delegate of India. And you have raised this motion to challenge me over the Kashmir issue for 3 minutes. Naturally, I know I am at fault being Pakistan, correct? I know I will be at fault being Pakistan. So I will not want to enter into this debate. No, It is dangerous for me to enter into this debate. So I will not vote for it. Neither will my friends and my allies also vote for this because they know this will put me on the spot. But if in the informal voting, because what did I say? Just because I have said, you have said, he or she or they or them, whoever said, just because you said does not mean we have to do. If you challenge me to a chat, you raise a motion to challenge me in the committee over a topic, and if the committee more than simple majority 51% or more vote saying no, this is an important challenge, it should take place, even though I as Pakistan has said no, I don't want to do this challenge because the committee has voted, that's the reason I will also have to be a part of this challenge as well. Now do you understand the importance of alliances, and now do you understand the importance of having, how do you say, friendly countries that work together in committee in your blocks for these simple reasons, for your voting purposes, for your solutions, for all of these different motions. It's a great initiative of having a one-on-one debate in committee for a period of 3 minutes through the process of motion to challenge a delegate. When do you raise it? How do you raise it? Again, chairperson repeats one dialogue continuously in the committee. Any points or motions on the floor? Any points or motions on the floor? Any points or motions on the floor? Motion to challenge a delegate. So and so, so and so, so and so. This is essentially what challenge means at large. Next up, you have another type of motion called a question answer session. Suppose there is a whole, a discussion taking place over a particular issue. If you would have seen maybe some Instagram reels when it comes to, Meta and Facebook and, Apple and things like that, you must have noticed that, all of these CEOs are sitting on a desk and all the, people are asking them questions based on their privacy, based on, the data, based on, the financials concerned, based on the tax havens, all of these different things. So question answer session is like that, is where the committee, the committee as a whole, the committee as a whole can ask questions to a particular delegate. Now, say for example, I'm the delegate of India and I've conducted Operation Sindoor. Everybody has different viewpoints on this, saying, "Oh, did you have had an impact on innocent civilians? What is the collateral damage? Where is the evidence of all of these different things?" So, when you want to ask questions, or rather, you feel committee wants to ask questions to the entire to a particular delegate, you raise a motion to move into a question answer session, of delegate of India. Total time period 5 minutes, and total number of questions 5 questions, which basically means, suppose I am delegate of India and delegate of Pakistan is there, on you are delegate of Pakistan and you have raised a motion to open a question answer session with delegate of India. I might not want to answer your questions, but again, it goes through the process of informal voting. So again, if Pakistan has many friends in the committee and has made friends, convinced some of the neutral people, his motion of question answer session can pass. And I, as a delegate of India, even though I might not want to answer the questions, I will be required to answer the questions as well because of the simple process of majority. The next type of motion is one for, one against, and two versus two. So this is very similar to challenge. It's also a type of motion. Again, when do you raise it? Motion for, one against with the delegates of A and B and C and D. If you're doing two on two, where this is a more civilized form of debate. Challenges like how we see on news channel, our parents see TV and we see all of these people shouting and debating with each other. That is challenge. Yes, you will get placards. Uh, However, one for, one against, two versus two is a more civilized form, where suppose there are two people having a one versus one with each other, 1v1 with each other. I'll speak for 30 seconds, then you will be allowed to speak for 30 seconds, then again I will speak for 30 seconds, and again you will speak for 30 seconds. So they we get turn by turn. Challenges, you don't have to wait for the other person to stop speaking. It is an open platform, open debate. No need to wait. There's no time that I have to speak, you have to speak. Anytime anyone can speak. But in one versus one and two versus two, there is a predefined time saying 30 seconds me, 30 seconds you, 30 seconds she, 30 seconds them. This is essentially what 1 versus 1 or 2 versus 2 essentially is. How do you raise it? Very simple. Any points or motions on the floor, motion for, 1 against with the delegates of A, B, C, and D in case you're doing in 2 out of 2. Again, just because you have raised the motion, that does not necessarily mean that it's going to pass. That does not mean it's essentially going to pass. It will go under the process of informal voting. And if the committee votes saying, okay, this should be done, it will be done. Even though one of the delegates out of these 2 or 4 may not want to do because committee has voted, has to be part of it. This is what another type of motion essentially is. Then you have something called joint statement. Motion to share a joint statement with the committee. What is a joint statement? When two countries come together to share a statement, share their friendship, share their alliance, share their ideologies with everybody else in the committee. How do you raise it? Motion for joint statement between the countries of India and Australia. Let me give you an example. Now, Afghanistan, you must be knowing Afghanistan and you must be knowing the amazing spinner Rashid Khan. So, Afghanistan and India have good relations, believe it or not. Very, very good relations. In fact, Afghanistan has now opened free trade for India, has opened telling us that come and buy land, set up business, we will give you tax exemption, everything in Afghanistan. Come, because you and I are now friends. How did they do this? They issued a joint statement where you must have seen in the news or on television or in the newspaper, if you read it, where all two world leaders are shaking hands with each other. They've had a discussion with each other and issued a statement to the press, which you must have seen. So, this is something known as a joint statement. When two countries come together to share their alliance, to share a particular statement or joint ideologies for benefit of the committee or benefit of their own respective countries, it is done through joint statement. This statement can be made at any time, but if it's not related to agenda, then it will be, how do you say, considered void. These are the different types of motions. Just to summarize, different types of motions: moderated caucus, unmoderated caucus, challenge, question answer session, 1 for 1, 2 versus 2, and joint statement. These are the different types of motions. Then, like I said, the chairperson says one dialogue in repeat like a parrot. Any points or motions on the floor? We've discussed motions. What are points? I'm coming to presidential statement. Don't worry. So, what are points? There are 4 types of points in the committee. The first type of point is called point of personal privilege. You can raise your placard and say point of privilege anytime. Not necessary this has to be voted upon. Points are never voted upon. Points are taken up by the chairperson. Either they take it or they don't take it. Point of personal privilege is your personal thing. Means, say for example, you want to use the washroom. Say for example, your mom is calling, something like that. You want to be excused for 1-2 minutes. How you raise your hand and say, ma'am, can I go to toilet? So like that, point of personal privilege is a more formal way of the same thing, which is done in United Nations and parliamentary. Otherwise, people consider rude. No, somebody speaking and you just walk off like that. So you say point of personal privilege, I'm having some trouble, I need to go outside for a minute. Or point of personal privilege, the delegate is sitting right behind there, I'm not able to hear the delegate. Then whatever, anything that is personally impacting you, not related to agenda or a topic or rules or anything like that, any person issue like, a washroom, mom is calling, cannot hear, facing some difficulty, raise your placard, point of personal privilege, share what your concern is, and it will get solved. The second type of point is called point of information. Point of information is a very good point in my opinion. Basically, what happens here is you need to, if you feel that I'll say North Korea, okay, say as North Korea, I have made a statement saying that I have removed all my nuclear bombs. I have removed all my nuclear bombs. Then at that juncture in time, it's not necessarily a true statement. I must have lied in the committee. If you find another delegate giving false information, hiding information, lying about something, you can use the word point of information. Where basically I am delegate of North Korea, Kim Jong Un with his bad hairstyle. you know that I have nuclear bombs and you have credible information, means not an Instagram reel, but you have proper documentation and proper news articles saying that, okay, this is proof that delegate of North Korea has nuclear bombs but is making false statement in committee. You can raise a placard, say point of information, say that chairperson and delegates, the delegate of North Korea, I would like him to clarify or her to clarify why is this given essentially, why he is given the statement saying he does not have nuclear bombs, because I am of the belief that he does have nuclear bombs. So you will also have to have credible proof, because see, you are accusing a world leader of giving wrong information in committee or hiding or concealing facts in committee. So at that juncture in time, you need to have proof. No, you cannot go around pointing fingers to anybody. Similarly, other people cannot point fingers at you. So if you feel delegate of Pakistan, delegate of India, delegate of Australia, delegate of US, whichever delegate has given some false information in the committee, simply raise your placard, say point of information, highlight the inaccurate information or false information. But if you do that, you must also have credible source of information to back up your claims, which means you cannot point a finger without having the evidence. Very, very important. Otherwise, it will backfire on you only. The third type of point is point of order. If you feel that somebody has made a mistake in the rules of procedure, saying I have used a wrong motion or a wrong point in the rules of procedure and committee, you can raise your placard, and say point of order, this is how do you say, a procedural irregularity from the rules of procedure. However, this point we are not going to be enforcing heavily, because like I said, many of you are coming for NUN first time and we don't want to get into too many technicalities of it. And finally, the most helpful point for first timers coming to this conference: if you want to do something in the committee, if you want to do something in your committee, you want to introduce a motion, you want to say something, whatever it is that you want to do, but you're not able to identify which rules of procedure you should use, then very simply and very helpfully raise your placard, point of parliamentary inquiry, tell the chairperson, that I want to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z things, which one of the procedure I should use. And this is your fourth type of point. Again, to summarize, there are four types of points. One is called point of personal privilege, any personal issue. Next is called point of information. Next is called point of order. And next is called point of parliamentary inquiry. These are your different points that are essentially there. With this, we complete with the points and motions. Remember that statement? Any points or motions on the floor? These are your different points and motions. Lastly, you have something called presidential statement. This is a very dicey thing. Why? Because when you are raising a placard and you say presidential statement, you are considering yourself to be the head of the state, means the president or prime minister of a particular your country, not just a diplomat of a country, considering yourself to be a president or prime minister. Because you are the president or prime minister in the committee, you have a privilege of speaking anytime that you want. You don't need voting. You don't need to listen to chairperson. Anytime you can raise a placard, say presidential statement, and you can speak for a period of 5 minutes. Also, if you use this, you have to yield to questions, because if you are a president, you are making a statement, people might have questions, they have the right to ask you, because you have interrupted committee and you are making an important statement. Two things I must tell you out here. Point number one is that if you are assuming yourself to be the president, the thing that you say, the statements that you make should suit the profile and the chair of the president, which basically means, I'll give you an example. Say, for example, you are staying in, say, for example, Shangna Sherry, as an example. Now, in Shangna Sherry, say, for example, outside your house, the road is broken from last 2 weeks. You are not going to call up Prime Minister Modi or Dr. Tharoor and tell him, sir, outside my house, the road is broken, right? What you are going to do as a citizen, you will call your local MLA, the person who represents Shangna Sherry, because that is his responsibility. Modi sir is not going to come and check. Tharoor sir is not going to come and check or the road outside your house. Similarly, put this into perspective of presidential statement. When you are talking as a prime minister or president, you cannot be talking about low level issues. You have to be talking about the top level issues. Because if you talk about a views presidential statement just to interrupt committee and convey some unnecessary statement, you will get minus marks. You will get minus marks out here. So use this very carefully. And at the same point of time, you have to yield to questions. You have to yield to questions when it comes to presidential statement. Means if you have taken and interrupted a committee, you have raised a placard saying, I am president, I am speaking now, then committee has right to ask you questions as well. If the information that you share, if the information that you share does not suit the profile or the chair of the prime minister, president, or head of your state, you will get minus marks. Remember this one thing. This is essentially what presidential statement essentially is. Now we come to the solutions. How does the committee go? Again, just to summarize, we start with attendance, then we set the agenda, then we give our introductory speech and identify friends, neutral people, and enemies. Then we move in cycle of moderated caucus and unmoderated caucus. In between the moderated unmoderated caucus, we can have other different motions. And specifically during unmoderated caucus is when you, what did I tell you? Lobby with other people. You all have discussed your problems. What are the solutions to your problems? These solutions are made in the unmoderated caucus through two processes. One process is working paper. What is a working paper? Working paper is a solution to your subtopic, right? Let me take you back to moderated caucus. Moderated caucus is when we discuss the different sub problems of the main problem, correct? Working paper is a solution to a sub problem, which is made in the unmoderated caucus. So say for example, let's take into consideration example I gave you earlier of the Delhi bombings example discussed in moderated caucus. In that example that we discussed, we raised a placard, opened a motion for moderated caucus on Delhi bombings. The motion was voted upon. 10 people spoke in that motion. We all shared our thoughts and opinions on it. After sharing our thoughts and opinions, we need to find a solution because you understood everybody what they're thinking about it now. This solution of the Delhi bombings is made, only Delhi bombings, not the full Kashmir issue, just Delhi bombings is made as a working paper in an unmoderated caucus. This is what a working paper is. There's no format. There is no format in this. You simply need to write working paper 1, Delhi bombings, and then below that write the points. Point number 1, security in NCR region should be increased. Point number 2, academicians teaching in universities and educational institutions should be vetted preferably. Point number 3, there should be a database and a track record of all the people interacting with the youth of India. Point number 5, there should be more CCTV cameras and digital surveillance in the NCR region. Point number 6, people should be have a helpline number in case they find some sort of issue. So whatever the solutions are, here I'm just thinking out loud and sharing with you what comes to my mind. But you, on the other hand, have discussed that in detail in moderated caucus. Then you have 10 or 15 minutes to sit with everybody, not just with me, but with everybody in that committee and find a solution to it. This is what is known as a working paper. There is no format. Working paper 1, whatever your moderated caucus topic is, that is what your working paper 1 ka name will be. Working paper 1 dash Delhi bombings. Solution, point number 1, this should be done. Point number 2, that should be done. Point number 3, this should be done. This is what it essentially is. Now, once you finish this unmoderated caucus and you have made this working paper, not alone, with your allies in the committee and maybe with the neutral people who you should work towards convincing, you will then put this to informal voting, because just because you have created the working paper That does not mean that everybody in the world has to implement the solution. So it will go under the voting of the informal vote. And if the committee says, okay, this is a good solution to this Delhi bombings and what we should do going forward, this solution and working paper one will pass. This is what a working paper is. Now, coming back to what I was trying to tell you, how does your committee flow? You have moderated caucus, unmoderated caucus, working paper. Moderated caucus, unmoderated caucus, working paper. Your moderated caucus topic 1, your subtopic 1 will be the solution working paper 1. Your subtopic 2 will be working paper 2. Just like your geography textbook, you have an entire textbook, you have chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, A, B, C, D, right? So you first study the first chapter, then you solve the questions of the first chapter after the chapter is over, correct? Then you move on to second chapter, then you solve the solutions of the second chapter, then you go to the third chapter, you study the third chapter, and then you solve the third chapter. Similarly in MUN, you have broken down the entire main problem into multiple sub problems. You discuss each sub problem in detail and make one working paper for each subtopic that you have discussed. Like your geography textbook, you study chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, solve all 4 chapters, you've completed the whole subject, you've covered the whole agenda. Similarly, what is a resolution? Resolution is nothing but a solution to the entire agenda. Where do you get this solution from? Where do you get this solution from? You already have it. How? Through your working papers. You compile all your working papers together, there is your solution, because you've discussed subtopic in detail, then you formulated solution in detail, then you've discussed a second subtopic in detail, then you found a solution to second topic also, and have voted upon it as well. And then you compile all of these documents together, all of the working papers together, from which you find something which is called a resolution. That is about it. Only thing, only thing, my friends, like I told you, everything goes through informal voting or simple majority. But there is one point and one type of voting called formal voting, which happens only for resolution, because that's the final solution. So it's an important voting process. There are 3 rounds. There are 3 rounds in this voting process. What are the 3 rounds? Round number 1. Every delegate, every student in a committee has 6 options in round number 1. One is agree, one is agree with rights, one is saying disagree, disagree with rights, pass, and abstain. What does this mean? Agree means yes, I'm voting for it. Agree with rights means yes, I'm voting for it, but I want to explain why I am voting for it. Disagree means no, this is not a proper solution. Disagree with rights means no, this is not a proper solution, but I want to explain why. Pass is for the people who have still not decided and are still confused that should we do this or should we not do this. Abstain is we don't want to interfere in this. Like what India did when it came to Russia-Ukraine war. If you would have noticed, if you would have seen on television, our foreign secretaries did not sign any documents. They put their pen aside. That is what you call abstain. That is what you actually call by the term abstain. This is your round 1 of formal voting, where you have these options. In round 2, the students who have selected, delegates who have selected agree with rights and disagree with rights, who have said yes, I am voting, or no, I'm not voting, and want to explain why. In this round 2, they will be given opportunity for 1 minute or 1.5 minutes each to explain to the entire committee why they voted yes or why they voted no. Why is this essentially important? Why is this essentially important? Because you remember there's a certain column in your general speakers list notepad that you made. You have your friends, you have your enemies, and then you have neutral. If you convert and convince the neutral people to be on your side, they will vote for you. The past people are generally the ones who are neutral in nature. The agree with rights and disagree with rights is the last chance. Is the last chance for you to convince these neutral people to come on your side. That is why these 2 options are there. And finally, you have round 3, where you get to cast your final vote. Where you get to cast your final vote in the conference, with who only the people who have passed, they will get three options then. Either agree, saying yes, okay, fine, I am convinced we should go with this solution. Disagree means no, boss, I am not convinced, we are not going forward with this solution. And pass, which basically means that hey, or abstain rather, which basically means hey, I don't want to get into this any further. This is essentially what your formal voting is. It's done only once. Every time it's informal voting, simple majority show of placards. Formal voting requires two-thirds majority. This is why the neutral people are very important. This is why agree with rights and disagree with rights is very important. And this is why there are three rounds in formal voting. And this is why you need to be diplomatic and take into consideration everybody in your committee and not just your own country. Two-thirds majority means if there are 30 people in your committee, you need 21 people to agree to that solution for that committee to pass and for that resolution to pass. And of course, in case before formal voting you want to make some changes or say there's one point that I don't like, you don't have to vote against the whole resolution. You can make small changes in the resolution, no problem. Just because you are not comfortable with one point, that does not mean you don't need to work on the resolution at all. You will have chance to make some changes also in the form of amendments. These amendments are of two types. Consensual amendment is basically when everybody is in agreement. Like say for example, I have made a spelling mistake, or I have made a spelling mistake, or I have written something grammatically wrong, where doesn't change the context of things. It just changes, just corrects the grammar or the text or the positioning or the layout or whatever it is, where nobody is going to debate about correcting a spelling, right, in a resolution. So that is called a consensual amendment. Everybody is in agreement. By all, there's no voting required because it's consensual. Everybody's like, yeah, bro, it's proper. We should correct the spelling. What's the problem in that? Non-consensual amendment is maybe one or two points which are disputed, where I agree and you don't agree. That just because we don't see eye to eye on one point in the full resolution, that does not mean you have to throw away the whole resolution. The 95% of it we are in agreement on. So non-consensual amendment, we have a what do you call that? A voting only on that point. Simple majority, informal vote only on that point. Should this point be there? Should this point not be there? Again, based on the simple majority, that point will either pass in the resolution or it will be deleted from the resolution. This is what your amendments essentially are. And with this, my dear friends, we complete with the KHS MUN rules of procedure. Your homework, which I have given you to reiterate once again, is all of y'all have got an agenda. I want you to make 5 to 8 sub agendas or contributing problems to this major problem and keep them ready for you to introduce in your committee in the format of the moderated caucus. And your second homework is I want you to note down all the questions that you have from the 25 points of rules of procedure that we've covered. And in tomorrow's session at 6 p.m., and tomorrow's session at 6 p.m., I am going to be answering all of your different questions at length and not be sharing my screen. Just you, me, the chat box, and your question. That's about it. The third thing I want to inform you is that we are going to be introducing lobbying groups. How you have selected Security Council or WHO, like that other students from other schools also have selected Security Council, WHO. You don't know them, they don't know you. You don't know which country they are, they don't know your country which you are. So our conference is going to now begin, where you are going to be introduced to these different groups. Of each committee will have its own group where you can liaison, introduce yourself, start forming your alliances, start trying to find your friends in the sense not your best friend from school, but your friends who's your country friend in the committee. Like if you are India in Security Council, you should be finding Russia in Security Council who will be your friend. That friend can be from another school. You all don't know each other. Start connecting with each other, meet each other, introduce each other. This is what's going to happen in the lobbying groups. And after these groups are formed, I'm going to share 2 examples of a resolution and a working paper is with you as well, so you can see what a resolution and how simple a resolution and a working paper actually looks like as well. That being said, my dear friends, thank you so all for joining today's session. I hope it was worth your while and you all have got a, how do you say, a blueprint or a road to how your committee sessions are going to take place and how we are going to go about the discussions as well. And tomorrow, I look forward to meeting you all to solve all your doubts. God bless you all and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.